An Arsenal at home review. First, let's look at the teams. A couple of surprises in terms of Tudor's first selection. Spence started as a left wing back without a left foot, although you could understand putting him up against Saka 1v1 rather than the inexperienced Sousa. This then meant Gray was needed as a right wing back, and much to my disappointment, Bissouma was the 6 in centre midfield. My rating of Tudor went down a few notches straight away. As I thought in my preview, Muani started as a striker with Solanke on the bench. There was a doubt on Solanke's fitness after illness, but we know Tudor is a Muani fan. Ritchie also made the bench. Gallagher, when the team was in defensive formation, which we were for most of the game, was part of a midfield 3. But I feel the idea was to play 5-2-2-1 in attack. It's just that attacking didn't happen that much for us. Another disappointment for me, Dragusin in the centre of the 3. Had Tudor seen him play? I'm no expert, but the central of the defensive 3 has the ball a lot, needs the technical skills and is under the most pressure at times. And is Dragusin that man? My rating of Tudor went down another few notches. In terms of pluses, it was a joy to see Muani close down Rice and score that goal. In terms of annoyances, I've already mentioned Dragusin and Bissouma in their positions. I'll add Seamans to the list as well, as he was non-existent and error-prone, but I could mention the whole team. But sorry, I've got to blame the formation and system, which I'll come to later. So much for my preview and prediction that Jesus would start. Gyökeres had the freedom of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at times. Eze came back to haunt us again, of course. He also had the freedom of the stadium, with no midfielder or defender to pay him any attention. Saka and Timber had an overload against Spence, and it seemed it was Sarr's job from a 3-man midfield against 3 to come back and help him. Obviously Sarr struggled to cover, and when he did he was on his own, as with one of the goals. Seamans seemed non-existent to help, and the back 3 so zonal and static. Let's move on to the goals. Arsenal's first. We start with the second or third phase play after an Arsenal corner. There was a blocked Eze shot deflected out to Timber. If we look at the marking matchups, we can see that Gallagher is free with everyone else marked. However, no one is goal side of Saka. Spence moved towards Timber and Saka moved into the space he left. This left Saka 1v1 with Sarr. Van de Ven was now free in terms of marking. Timber passed to Saka. Saka then ran down the wing, followed by Sarr. Van de Ven ran back to protect the front post, and Bissouma left Eze to try to back him up. In the box, Gyökeres moved towards the front post, taking Dragusin with him. Eze moved into the box, Muani letting him go. Spence jogged back but was too slow as Saka got past Sarr. Space on goal had now been opened up by Gyökeres's movement. Saka passed the ball through the box to Eze. Eze had time and space to flick the ball up and volley it into the net. If we're looking at things that could have been done to prevent the goal, Van de Ven could have moved out to back up Sarr, with Bissouma then moving into the box and Seamans picking up Eze. Instead, we had both Van de Ven and Bissouma moving to the front post. Bissouma left the goal scorer. Muani got the blame for not following Eze. But let's remember, Muani was a striker. Seamans did not even bother tracking back, and Spence was just strolling. Let's have a look at our goal to equalise. A surprise attack from us led to Spence with the ball on the wing. A forward run from Muani drew Saliba with him, opening space up for Seamans to run into. Rice followed him. Spence tried to pass to Seamans, but Rice intercepted and ran backwards with the ball. Muani ran towards him. Muani tackled Rice and ran forwards into the box with the ball. Gabriel didn't close him down, too scared as Gallagher was free. Muani powered in a shot, too quick for Raya. In terms of blame for the goal, with joy we can look at Rice, and let's just leave it at that. Arsenal's second goal. We'd cleared the ball from our box, but it was passed to Timber out deep on the wing. At the time, marking matchups seemed fine, with Van de Ven spare. But there was no pressure on Timber, with Seamans just strolling again. Problems started with Eze making a run down Dragusin's channel. Dragusin moved with Eze, opening up space for Gyökeres. Dragusin bumped Eze, making him fall. Timber bounced the ball through to Gyökeres. Paulinho had dropped deep, giving far too much space, perhaps concerned by Trossard. This allowed Gyökeres to take a touch and curl a shot into the goal. Areas to improve. Seamans at least trying to pressure the ball. Marking, Van de Ven was too far away to drop back and cover. Bissouma, who you presume as a 6 should have been looking at Eze. None of them affected play. Also, should Vicario have been beaten from there? Their third. Sarr headed the ball back to Dragusin. The header was weak and bounced, allowing Gyökeres to close down. There was then another bouncing weak header from Dragusin to Bissouma. Eze forced past Bissouma and won the ball. Saka then sprinted into space, and Eze played a 1-2 with Gyökeres, moving into the space between Dragusin and Paulinho. Eze passed to Saka to run onto. Saka dribbled in on goal. Van de Ven did manage to catch up, and Vicario came out of his goal. Through both of them, the ball deflected out and then hit Paulinho's leg to go straight to Eze. Eze lifted the ball over Paulinho's leg into the net. In terms of blame, obviously there were a couple of weak headers. And Bissouma getting beat for the ball. Also, Saka reacting faster than Van de Ven. Let's have a look at the fourth. In injury time, we now have a back three of Gray, Dragusin and Van de Ven. Spence has gone to right wing back and Tel is left wing back. Spence had the ball following a Gray clearance. He was crowded out by Arsenal players. Spence ended up losing the ball to Martinelli after trying to take everybody on. Madueke moved into space with Van de Ven stationary. Van de Ven followed him but was too late as Martinelli passed to Madueke, who passed into Odegaard's path, who had run off the back of Bissouma. Odegaard drew in Dragusin before sliding it through to Gyökeres, who dribbled into the box, fending off Gray. Gyökeres side-footed past the approaching Vicario into the goal. As for where things went wrong, we can start with Spence trying to beat three men. And also the familiar name of Bissouma, allowing Odegaard to run off him. And also Van de Ven getting drawn out of defence by Madueke when Tel should have been over marking the winger. Also Dragusin. He tried to force Odegaard to go towards Van de Ven, but his body was in the wrong position, and you could say he was too deep, playing Gyökeres onside. Finally, Gray for being on the wrong side and being out-muscled by Gyökeres. Let's talk three at the back. I have various questions about Tudor's 5-3-2. Whose job was it to pick up Eze? Because it certainly wasn't Basuma's, or he just can't do the job as a 6, which most of us know. Whose job was it to help Spence when 1v1 or with an overlap? Because Van der Ven wouldn't, and Sarr couldn't as he had his hands full already or was just too slow. Whose job was it to close down Timber, as Sarr had his hands full already, and Siemens just did not look bothered. I really hope that Siemens had instructions to just walk around, not close down and stay free, because I have no other excuses for him. So my fears were realised about the 2 to 3 at the back versus a 4 at the back. The rigidity of the back 3. The space in front of the back 3 that nobody picked up. The overloads against the wing backs. The space on the wings to cross from deep. Ineffective strikers who just stay up front waiting for the long ball. Please change it, Tudor, or prove me wrong. This has been a comedy of errors and an embarrassment again. It's also a review from Dear Tottenham Hotspur. Please visit our website for more previews, reviews and thoughts. Yours sincerely and faithfully. Come on, you Spurs.